Hey, welcome to Bitwise Vids. I'm your host, Dr. Nate, and in this series we explore and learn how intelligent software tools and business processes are shifting how we design, build, secure, and maintain the power grid.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bitwise. My name is Tyler Surratt, and I'm the application engineer at Grid Intel.
And I'm Nathan Wallace, director and co-founder of Grid Intel.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about pole loading analysis and PowerView. So to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about pole loading analysis and why it's so important?
Yeah, pole loading analysis is really this idea of saying you have your poles, most often distribution poles or, lattice structures, basically holding up, the power grid as well as telecom lines. And you're trying to really do loading analysis. How loaded is the pole? Think of it as weight and forces that can occur on the pole. And the idea is the pole going to, under different load conditions, is it going to stay up or is it going to fall over and snap? Thinking of like a toothpick, right?
Right. And so I know while we were building this feature, there was so many equations, so many variables per equation, and it didn't stop there. So can you tell us a little bit about how that's speeding it up in PowerView, this process?
Yeah, so doing pole loading analysis, you especially for brownfield, you have to know the data from the field. You have to have captured existing data, the class of the pole, the height of the pole above ground. So we can kind of like draw that out and demonstrate that here. So here's the ground. We have a pole. Think of a pole like a cylinder. So, kind of step one is data collection. So let's actually just kind of document that over here. So steps, and then we have one is data collection. You're actually going out, doing your survey, collecting the data, and you're getting these heights. You are getting the conductor heights. So this may actually be your energized line,
right? As
well as you may have some telecom in here, right?
Yes.
And then you may have a pole top transformer, right? Never mind this obvious clearance violation there, right? But the idea being that we have all these forces, and you want to, like I mentioned earlier, determine if it's going to snap. And with PowerView now, being that it's a GIS project management solution, you're doing the data collection directly in the tool. So number one, check directly in PowerView. Number two is then the actual analysis of whether or not this pole is overloaded. And directly in PowerView, once you do this data collection, we have the ability now in PowerView to analyze all of these forces, simulate these different load cases from wind, and imagine we're looking down from the top, right? So we can have our little polar coordinate, poles in the middle here. This is north or 0 degrees. And we're able to see and model that if the capacity of the pole represents this dotted line here, and whenever we go in and model this, that actually the forces at the bottom are going to exceed the capacity of the pole.
Right.
So we can kind of model that and know exactly what angle and exactly what magnitude. Right. So that tells us what's wrong with the pole directly in PowerView. And you know what the third one is?
Putting it all together.
Putting it all together, right? Putting it all together, coming up with the plan for the mitigation. So this is the actual, kind of mitigation as well as managing the construction. So if you were to come in here and say, all right, well, we need to upgrade the pole. We need to replace the pole. We need to simply install a guy on, this side to kind of bring those forces back to the other side, to kind of get it back to where it's at this equilibrium. And now all of that is possible to be managed in PowerView.
Beautiful. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Bitwise. Join us next time.